Tom, lots to kind of break down here today. Let me start with this decision from the Supreme Court on what's going to be a by-election in Terrebonne.
Yes, and this is so exceptional. I just got off the phone with Julius Gray, who is the winning lawyer in this case. He represented the Bloc candidate, Nathalie Saint-Clair Desgagnés, who was defeated by a single vote at the hands of Liberal Tatiana Auguste, and there's going to be a by-election. According to Elections Canada, it's the first time that the courts have struck down the results of an election, so we're into uncharted territory for some parts of it. This case did not involve wrongdoing by any candidate or political party. Rather, it revolved around an incorrect postal code, believe it or not, provided for some mail-in ballots, and there was a proof that at least one person who voted for the Bloc never had their vote recorded. And Julius is telling of it. Look, the case started at 9:30 this morning. Aaron, you know how these things go. At 9:30 this morning, the case started, and at 1 o'clock they had the decision. And the Supreme Court apparently didn't take kindly to the more technical arguments that were put forward. They were looking at it institutionally. They were going to the merits. They were saying, look, what's involved here affects our democracy at a time when people have to have confidence in our democratic institutions, and we're going to do this one over again. So I think that was the right call, but it really is exceptional to see that decision come so quickly.
Tom, the other question here that some people are wondering now, if by virtue of this decision, this kind of gives Mark Carney what he wanted to be able to go ahead and say, yeah, we need a general election.
Well, I'm going to wait to see the written decisions. As I said, I spoke with Julius, and he said to me that he's expecting written decisions in a week or two, because the normal rule is once the Speaker declares, so Francis Scarpelli is going to get notice from the court, then he's going to declare that the seat is vacant, and then normally the government has 6 months to call the election. But it's also possible that in the ruling, the Supreme Court, given the fact that they're really attaching themselves to the democracy angle here, which is the key one, of course, maybe they're going to say it's going to have to be called shorter than that. So we're going to see. We're expecting, for example, to replace Bill Blair and Chrystia Freeland. We're expecting by-elections to be called very shortly. And so I don't think this one can be rolled into those, because I really thought that the Libs were going to go very, very quick to call those. It's going to be a tough row to hoe, by the way, for the Liberals under Carney to hold on to that riding. If you look at the riding itself, it's a bit of a bellwether. It's not identical federal and provincial, but there's a provincial Terrebonne riding as well that went very badly for the Liberals, single digits last time around, which was just over, not quite a year ago. It's when Pierre Fitzgibbon stepped down. So March 17th of last year, there was a by-election out there. The Parti Québécois got 52% of the vote. The CAQ was down to 28%, and the Libs a mere 8%. So if that's an indication of the Liberal favor, which it's not exactly, we know that they don't transpose completely, but it's still an idea. Carney himself is extraordinarily popular. That's why they took the riding, but the Liberals had not won that riding in decades. Under Mulroney, it went Conservative. With the Orange Wave, it went NDP. In between and after, it was always Bloc. So the Libs pulled off something incredible there when they won, but it was everything to do with Carney and his ability to deal with Trump. Is that Carney magic going to still be there in a by-election? That's going to be the big test. And I'll concede your point, Aaron, when you say maybe it'll certainly be food for thought for the people around Carney, saying, what if we get punched in the nose in Terrebonne? What if we get 28% of the vote, or 20% of the vote, or something really low compared to the last time, and we get thumped by the Bloc? Is that going to be a really bad signal for us in the rest of Canada? So yeah, it's going to be something on their minds, but I'm not sure it's going to be determining.
All right, let me turn to provincial politics. As of 12 minutes ago, Charles Milliard, I guess, unless I've not heard anything other, is leader of the Quebec Liberal Party. So
we're heading for a coronation. Yes.
Okay, we're safe. All right. So Mario Waugh, I guess, couldn't come up with $30,000 or do what he had to do. So Charles Milliard is the leader.
It was that. I don't think he was able to pay off his debt from the last one.
Well, there you go.
I don't think they were going to let him run this time unless he had paid off the previous one.
So Charles Milliard is officially the leader. Look, Tom, I've heard this from a couple of different people. The idea that up until now, as talented as he may be, fresh new ideas that he may have, he hasn't exactly lit it up. So does this change now that he's officially the leader?
You and I think I would have used exactly those words. The guy doesn't exactly light up the room. And it's interesting because there is a politician who's just popped onto the scene who's not very well known yet, but she definitely lights up the room, and she's she's shaken up the CAQ completely. And I don't know if you saw the polling results that were released this morning, but she's just thumping Bernard Drainville like no tomorrow. And even in Quebec City, where this whole argument about this new, what they call the third link, this new bridge or tunnel and whatnot, even there, she's like down, she lost 1%. And she's still way ahead. She's 2 for 1 ahead of Bernard Drainville, even in the Quebec City region. So what do people look for in this upcoming election? What's the number one thing they're looking for? More than 2/3 of Quebecers don't want a referendum, much less separation. So you've got the PQ doing well in the polls, promising that if they're elected, we get another referendum. Well, those of us who have been through the first two know how bad an idea that is. So a little bit like we did federally the last time, who can defeat Poilievre? So all of a sudden the NDP goes into the dumpster and the Liberals go flying high and the Bloc loses a bunch of seats and the Conservatives, who were 28 points ahead, wind up losing to Mark Carney. Could we see the same thing here? Everybody just looking as we head into the election, who can beat the PQ? And I think we're going to see some of that. And one of the guys I'm going to be keeping my eye on is the Conservative leader. I mean, Éric Duhaime has a lot of political skills, but he also has, in terms of the economy, vision that is very close to that of the CAQ, ostensibly. So is there a possibility that Christine Fréchette, who I believe is going to win the CAQ leadership in a romp, would she be able to reach out to this guy? I mean, he's got a few bumps and bruises and stuff that he carries with him. But, would they be able to leapfrog ahead of the Liberals? Right now, the Liberals there was one poll back in June when things were looking good for them before all the stuff happened around Pablo Rodriguez's leadership. And that had them at 19%. But the polling since then has them pretty well back into single digits outside of Montreal. They're in the 10% range outside of Montreal. So you can't win an election with that.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to be on people's mind. Who can defeat the Parti québécois? And I think that's why it's important to keep an eye on Christine Fréchette. She's a fresh face. She's very open. She's tolerant. Doesn't represent that very dark side of the CAQ that we've seen that it's been the most horrible side. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one. I think it could prove very interesting.
All right, Tom, we're going to leave it at that. I want to follow up on a theme we've had most of the day today. I've asked listeners. I've talked to a couple of our traffic people as well. Alice and Brian have both weighed in. Because it's Valentine's weekend, Valentine's Day is tomorrow, we asked people to share some of their stories, and some of them have been actually pretty amazing. So you've been married for a long, long time. Share the story about how you met your significant other.
Well, Catherine and I met in the Laurentians at a wedding. I was invited to on one side of the family, and Catherine, it was her cousin. She was coming in from France, and she was at this wedding. We were both 19 years old, and we met then, and that was in 1974. And 2 years later, when we were both 21, we got married. And this summer, in July, we're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary.
Okay, a little light on details. Tom, a little light on details there. You meet at a wedding. Okay, what happened? Did she come up to you?
We fell in love. We wrote to each other every single day. I went to France that Christmas, and 6 months later, we were engaged.
Okay. You went to France.
Yeah, well, Catherine was living in Paris.
Yeah, good for you.
Catherine was living in Paris.
Well, there's your commitment.
We've been back and forth a lot, but I mean, for Catherine and me, it's just been the most wonderful ride together. We're very lucky to have found each other. I know I'm very lucky to be with Catherine, and every year, not just on Valentine's Day, but all the time, we're just acknowledging the fact that we're super lucky, because not everybody has that luck. And there is a little bit of luck involved in that. A lot of hard work to keep a couple together. But Catherine and I are very lucky. We've got a couple of sons and 4 grandchildren now. And like I say, we're all going on a big holiday this summer to celebrate our 50th.
And your wife is a wonderful woman. I've had a chance to meet her, so please say hi for me as well.
Thanks, Eric.
Tom,
I agree on that.
Have a good one.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
All the best.
All right.
Take good care.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.